790 KNST.
Little Blue has to call for you 37 minutes after 7 o'clock. Yeah, our next guest is going to be basically the poster child for dreams, because Pete Seat was right here at the U of A. He was right here in Tucson, Arizona. He was a young political Republican dude, and all of a sudden he went to the White House. I mean, yeah, you know, you don't have to just work. You don't have to slowly spend 5 years in the little Board of Ed group, and then 5. You go right to the White House if you're Pete Seat. How are you, Pete?
I'm great, Jim. Good morning.
Hey, I remember when you landed that gig, and I was like, hey, good for him. And then a couple of years went by, and I'm like, wow, he's got a real job. That's pretty good. How did that work out for you? What was it? What dreams are made of, or did it shock you a little bit?
You know, the example I use is, you know, if you ever watched Seinfeld, or some of your listeners did, there's a great episode where Kramer went to a New York Yankees fantasy baseball camp, and George was like, you know, Kramer's entire life is a fantasy camp. That's kind of how I felt about the White House. It was like living in a fantasy world where you'd walk by the president, Vice President Condoleezza Rice all day long, and you know, I only saw them on TV, and it was just a great place to not only walk around and see things, but to also be a part of the action.
All right, first of all, let me get a little serious, because you got hired by Tony Snow, right?
Yes, I did.
I mean, I don't know him other than have a couple of phone conversations. Seems like he was the nicest human being on the planet. I mean, was he that nice?
Absolutely. He's one of those rare people that what you saw on TV is what you got in person. You really did shine through, and we definitely all miss him. It was an honor to work for him, and I got a very special honor to be one of the ushers at his funeral, along with some of my White House colleagues and some guys from Fox News. So it was very, very touching and very special to work for him for one last time.
Well, let me lighten it up a little bit and say, listen to him. Now he says things like my White House colleagues, you know what I mean? It's like kind of, give me a misconception that we might have of what it's like in the White House.
Misconception of what it's like in the White House?
After you were there over 3 years, right?
3.5 years, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, when you were brand new, your first couple of days compared to when, 3 years later, what did you come to learn?
You know, one thing that I noticed was there are a lot more young people that work there. And I know it's just as true for the Obama administration. There's a lot more young people that work at the White House than you would imagine. As you said right before we started talking, some people spend their entire lifetimes before they get there. And, obviously our bosses were all very established in their fields, but a lot of us had just come straight out of college. We were more in support roles, and some of us were spokespeople by the time we left, as I was. But there's a lot of young people walking around, college Republican background, business background, and people that have done amazing things with their life in such a short time frame.
Now, how about your first addressing of the media or addressing of any group? Were you a nervous wreck?
No, thankfully, having been at U of A and being involved in college Republicans and being on KNST all the time, back when I was there, I had a lot of experience in it, and I was a theater major at U of A. So public speaking is not something that doesn't come easily to me. But definitely when I started working with the press, there was a steep learning curve, because I originally was in the scheduling office, where all my interactions were just inside the building, just with fellow White House staffers. And then you go to the press office, where you're working with the press corps, communicating to the world. One little mistake you've made, becomes a ripple effect that people around the world may potentially see. So you definitely have to be cognizant of that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it sounds like it was exciting, and I'm sure you have a pretty nice Facebook list of friends after a job like that. So let me put you right on the spot. I mean, now you're getting to that age, you're about ready to run for something big, no?
I don't think I'm going to be running for anything.
Come on, theater major. Theater major.
Maybe down the line, we'll see. But these days, I'm just trying to figure out what's coming next. I do a bi-weekly guest column back here home in Indiana, where I am now. I've done some op-eds. I had one in the Daily Star about a month ago about youth and their involvement in politics, and been on Fox News and MSNBC in the last couple of weeks, adding some political commentary to the debate.
Excellent.
So I'm just enjoying myself until I figure it all out.
How does it end, Pete, when you're there and a new administration gets elected, and your days are numbered? How does it come down? How do they say goodbye? How do they switch teams on you?
Well, we had to turn in all of our stuff, which was one of those depressing depressing. You knew it was going to be kind of depressing leaving. But, you know, you had to turn in your BlackBerry, which had become another arm that I was so used to using for 2.5, 3 years. And all your other assets you have to turn in. We got a little gift bag with a couple of things that we could take on our way out.
Yeah.
And you just walk out the gate, and, you know, I just remember closing the gate and kind of looking back, and it was like, wow, I actually got to work inside there. And immediately it was past 10. I used to work inside.
Yeah. Do you have any souvenirs that you would consider to be mean a lot to you now?
Absolutely, and you know, a lot of them are photographs that I have. One of my favorite ones is myself and the president at his ranch in Crawford after a 3-mile run in 100-degree heat in the middle of a Crawford August summer. And I'm wearing we're very dressed down, obviously. I'm in a Chicago Cubs hat, and he's wearing a cowboy hat. Is perfect. And another one, I was in the Oval Office when all the living presidents were there this past January.
Man, that's going to be unbelievable. You have a photo of that?
I have a picture of myself and a coworker herding the press out after the event with all the presidents standing behind us.
Oh, you got to email me that. We'll put it on our blog if it's not something that you can't get out there.
And those are definitely the the coolest things that I have are those, you know, those snapshots in time that I can remember.
Well, you know, Pete, and even Josh and I were talking about this. I mean, D.C. is a young town in a lot of ways because a lot of young professionals are running it anyway. So would you say that the change of administration would be shockingly different for the second tier of employees at the White House, or is it pretty similar?
As far as turnover?
As far as age and type people that would be in your job?
I think, you know, and I still occasionally keep in touch with some of the Obama folks, and I've met them. Actually, I overlapped with Obama when he was in London. I was there being a tourist. He was there being president. And so I got to meet a lot of these staffers that I had worked with during the transition. And a lot of their stories are similar to mine. You know, they just got involved, and somehow they stumbled upon the White House. So when it comes to that, the transition isn't that drastic.
Well, people like you are the future of the GOP. It's going to be a lot of fun, Pete. I'm glad we had to, we crossed paths so that we can keep in touch. Send me one of those pictures. We'll put it up on the blog, and it's been an absolute pleasure getting in touch, and let's keep in touch.
Absolutely, Jim. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Enjoy Indiana. Pete Seed, everybody, former Deputy Assistant Press Secretary with the Bush administration. Wow.